thanks for coming in. Could you start by giving us a quick overview of Bango and your business model?
Yes, certainly. Bango's role is to enable the big providers of digital content to enable single-click payment for their content and services on a smartphone. And to enable that to happen everywhere in the world, we hook into the mobile operator's phone bill to make those charges. So people don't need to pre-register credit cards, they don't need to have a credit card. Anyone with a smartphone can pay money on one of our customers for one of our customer services. So our customers and partners are the Goliaths of the mobile content world, people like Google, Amazon, Samsung, Microsoft, who are supplying content and services out to mobile devices. And our business model is very, very scalable, and we want to make sure that anybody on the planet can use our technology to make payments into our customers as easily as possible.
So driving up end user spend is a key focus of the business. Could you tell us a bit about what you're doing to drive that, and in particular a little bit about Bango Boost?
Yeah, I'd love to. For us to provide our customers with a good service, what they're looking to do is to sell more product to consumers, and so their key metric is, can they sell more? So for us, we want to show that we can generate substantial extra sales for them, and we charge a fee for that business, and the fee can vary. So when someone's doing large amounts of business in a fairly developed market, that we can have a particular percentage of the transaction volume, and for a much more complex market, especially in the early stages, the percentage might be correspondingly higher because we're just getting going within a territory. So the actual percentage margin expressed as a percentage of end user spend is variable. Last year we achieved 1.8%, which was slightly down on the previous year, around about just over 2%. But it's a result of a mix of margins, some of which are substantially above 2% and some of which are a little bit below 2%. And so number one priority is to build that end user spend. The beauty of having a fixed cost platform where every transaction that generates a fee, that fee drops through to the bottom line, is that we can do deals that bring our customers a lot of extra margin without having to have a sort of a cost of margin to factor in. So every transaction we do brings us money. There's no sort of margin squeeze pressure or anything like that.
You've recently reported your 2015 results. Could you give us the highlights of those results?
The key highlight was that our main KPI, key performance indicator, is end user spend, which is how much payment volume is collected through the platform for our customers. And we announced that between the beginning of the year, entering 2015 and exiting 2015, the end user spend rate through the platform doubled. So we went from around about £33 million a year annualized at the beginning of the year through to just over £67 million a year at the end of the year. So that's showing really, really good growth. The second point was that as we build the business and build the amount of volume going through the business, we're doing that on a stable cost base. So we've stated that our cost base should be around about £5 million a year, and indeed it actually declined slightly to about £4.5 million last year. So on the move towards profitability, that's very, very important. At the end of last year, we also raised some funds. We raised £11 million to strengthen our balance sheet, to make sure that our customers know we're around for the long term, can see we've got strength. That was very, 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 very useful. And then finally, operationally, we started to enter some big markets. We took Google Play with direct carrier billing into Africa for the first time, going live in South Africa. And we also took them into South America for the first time by going live with 2 mobile operators in Mexico. So although those are entries into that continent and they're relatively, they're early stage, it sets the scene for growth around the world in some very, very vibrant new markets.
So can you tell us a little bit about the specific growth drivers that you expect to drive that growth in both volumes and revenues over the course of the next couple of years?
So a good way of thinking of how we build our growth is a sort of a layering model. So when we activate one of our App Store partners, for example, a Microsoft, into a mobile operator in a particular country, it means that those customers can then start paying for content. And so once that route is open, the volume will build for a number of reasons. The number of smartphones will increase in that country. The number of people with that type of smartphone will increase. As the volume increases, the range of content to those users will increase. The users will buy more. And then in turn, as the users buy more and spend more, the people who are providing the content start to do more marketing. So if Candy Crush starts to sell better in a country, then King will do more marketing for Candy Crush in that country. So once a route's open, it just tends to grow. So by using natural growth and some technology we have called Bango Boost, we're able to get a growth rate of almost 100% from each of those routes as they start to go active. So that's part one. Part two, of course, is that we then add more routes. So last year we added more than 30 new routes, and they go on top of the businesses that are growing and building. So that's what can make the growth a little bit more exponential, because not only can we have the growth in each route, we can add more routes that adds extra growth. And that's really the route to more growth. So revenue from the activations we have, and then more activations on top.
So what should investors expect to see in 2016, both in terms of financial metrics and non-financial KPIs?
I think you should look out for interesting new territories going live. So going into new markets with direct carrier billing. There are some fairly large markets we're not active in with our biggest app stores yet, so you should see those. So that's going into markets, opening up new routes that will then generate volume. Also exciting will be the growth we start to get from some of the routes we opened up last year. So normally within the first few months to a year of a route, the App Store is proving it, the developers are proving it, they start to grow. So layered on top of the growth we've had from routes that are 1, 2 and 3 years old, we're going to get the growth from the routes that are 1 year old and so on. So you'll see a good growth. We've actually set out an expectation to at least double our growth again. So that's the bedrock, and on top of that we're looking for some exciting new markets. And in particular, some of the app stores that are only at a very early stage with us, starting to go from a handful of markets or 1 or 2 routes, and then expanding their footprint across the whole, all that's available from Bango worldwide.
So what are the benefits of carrier billing?
Mm-hmm. The first point is that not many people have credit cards. If you look at the average high-end smartphone user, they probably come from a rich environment. They might have a credit card. But if you look around the world, where there are billions of people, although there are hundreds of millions of credit cards, often many people have multiple cards. So the spread of credit cards is very limited. So the way that people can pay over the internet and for content on a smartphone is very limited. So carrier billing is always available if the operator allows it, whereas credit card isn't. So what you'll see is if you launch into a territory, you can see very substantial sales gains. For example, in South Africa, credit card use for buying content was, if you asked 10,000 users to purchase something, about 7 would purchase something. Whereas with carrier billing, it jumped to more like 3,000. So that's a many times increase in sales. And so the data shows very strongly that carrier billing increases sales. The other nice thing about carrier billing as well for app stores is that it drives extra revenue for the mobile operators. So what some operators were worried about is that when you made carrier billing available for app stores, people would stop spending on text, voice and data and instead spend all their money on the app stores, and the operator might make a lower share on the revenue by doing that. It turns out that's not the case, and there's a lot of evidence now. We published papers on that. So an operator who adds an app store, starts charging for the app store, they'll actually find that data will go up. That's fairly obvious. But also voice and text, there's an indication they also start to drift up a little bit as well, because it's the person doesn't have a sort of a fixed pot that all their spend goes through, which is what they were spending with the carrier. They'll migrate spend from other forms of entertainment through their mobile phone account and up onto the app store. So that's really encouraging for the operators.
And then finally, could you just give us your view on the company's ability to support itself through to cash flow break even?
Yeah, so the simple model we have is there's a £5 million spend. The margin coming from the business is somewhat over £1 million. As the end user spend grows, so end user spend doubles. It depends exactly what the margin mix is, but that's approximately a doubling in the margin generated. If it doubles again, that's 4 times the margin generated. So to get to break even, we need to do a little bit more than 2 doublings. So if we were doubling every year, it would take just over a couple of years. And clearly there's some opportunities to go faster than a doubling. So, and the analysts are looking at that sort of timeline. If you look at their projections, they're in that sort of ballpark, with some potential upsides of an earlier move to profitability and break even.